Welcome into the Picks, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, your guide to the Texas high school football playoffs. My name is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome to the precipice, folks. We are at the state semifinals of the 2025 Texas high school football playoffs. First and foremost, congratulations to the 4 teams that have already punched their tickets to AT&T Stadium in Arlington in the 6-man ranks. It will be the Gordon Longhorns defending their state championship against the Rankin Red Devils in 1A Division I, and then in 1A Division II, the Jayton Jaybirds will defend their crown against the Richland Springs Coyotes. Those teams are already heading to AT&T Stadium. They are taking the week off. They will play next Wednesday to kick off state championship week, but we've got 20 more tickets to punch to the state championships this week. They are all 48 minutes away from realizing the dream of playing on the big stage, from realizing what they have tried to work for all these months. Yet, I can't help but think about the 20 teams that are going to come agonizingly close and come up just short. We talk about this around these parts, about how this is the cruelest round of the Texas high school football playoffs because you've worked so hard, you've done everything you need to, you've won 4 playoff games, but you come up just short. There will be 20 teams celebrating and 20 teams in tears this week in the Texas high school football state semifinals. We will preview all 20 of the games in this very short video. Do not check the timestamp. We start in Canyon. 6 o'clock Thursday night at Happy State Bank Stadium in Canyon. It is a 2A Division II state semifinal between the Groover Greyhounds and the Munster Hornets. It is a rematch of last year's state semifinal. And what I think is remarkable about this game is how many of the principal characters are the same from last year. You've got Briggs Satterfield, the quarterback for Groover, who has been so good for them. I think he is such a playmaker and a guy who has really grown into the role of a leader. He has been box office to watch. And on the other side for Munster, you've got Kason Carney, the reigning state championship game offensive MVP, who has gotten better and better and better. One of the most dynamic playmakers in all of Texas high school football. Go back to last year when these two teams met. It was a 49-26 Munster win. And to be real honest, that score is not indicative of how that game went. Munster led that game 49-13 in the middle of the fourth quarter before a little bit of window dressing there from Groover. So what has changed since last year? I do think Groover's defense is a little bit better. I think sophomore Bo Cowan has really given them an edge. But then you look on the Munster side, and I think their defense might be just as good as it was last year, led by Rhett Walterscheid up front. I think that a lot of this is going to come down to whether or not Groover can run the ball with Dak Conyers. Can they get that ground game going? In the end, I do think Groover is better than they were last year, but I'm not sure it's enough to close what was a pretty substantial gap. I think Munster returns to AT&T Stadium to defend their crown. 7 o'clock Friday night at Randall Reed Stadium in New Caney. It is a 2A Division II state semifinal between the Shiner Comanches and the Mount Enterprise Wildcats, who are, not an opinion, the most interesting team in Texas high school football. Mount Enterprise is wild because they have the new Texas high school football Russian king. Texas Tech signee Kagan Ash broke Ken Hall's 72-year-old record last week, topping the 4,200-yard mark this season with a 500-yard performance in their regional final against Bremen. This guy is unbelievable. He is 80 yards away from breaking the career record set by Ken Hall. This guy is spectacular. And by the way, he's not alone on this offense. I think their dual threat quarterback, Joshua Bennett, has been really underrated. This Mount Enterprise offense averages more than 520 yards per game. They average more than 61 points per game. This offense is incredible. And then there's the defense. And the defense gives up 35 points a game. The defense is kind of struggling in a lot of ways. And look, I want to be really clear. Take a look at Rawls in 2A Division II, right? Rawls gave up 33 points per game this year. They were statistically a better defense than Mount Enterprise. Rawls went 1-9. Okay? 35 points per game is usually not a winning formula, and yet here is Mount Enterprise 48 minutes away from playing for a state championship. He'll have to go through Shiner, who looks a lot more like the traditional state title contender, right? This is a team that played for a title last year. Sophomore quarterback Jarvis Williams has really given them a new edge in the split back veer offense. And their defense, led by Clayton Fritz, has been rock solid all year long. Their defense has been excellent. This is what Shiner does, is running game and defense. They are a lot more typical. And so what happens when these two teams clash? It is a fascinating matchup here. I look at this and you would look at Mount Enterprise and say, well, you can't win with that type of defense. But we've seen it. 2023 Gilmer won with a defense that was, in the bottom half of their division. I want to see what happens when these two teams collide. It's a fascinating ball game. I think Shiner's defense is the difference. I think they make a couple of plays in this one. I think the Comanches return to AT&T Stadium. 6 o'clock Thursday night at Hawk Stadium in Iowa Park. It is a 2A Division I state semifinal between the West Texas Comanches and the Hamilton Bulldogs. West Texas into their first state semifinal since 1995. And what can you say about Coach Jeff Smith? A guy who took over a program that had won 3 games in their previous 2 seasons, and now he has them undefeated into a state semifinal. And quarterback Cade Winters, man, this guy is awesome. He is fun to watch. He put on the cape last week in their big win over Cisco in the regional final. Over 350 total yards and 6 total touchdowns. He's also their leading tackler on the defense, leading what has been a very strong West Texas defense alongside Zach Bryant. For Hamilton, back into a state semifinal for the second consecutive year. They have reloaded on the fly. We know what this Hamilton program is about. They pride themselves on defense. Halston, Hale, and company lead a terrific defensive unit that absolutely smothered Axtell last week in the regional final. And it gives the offense time to kind of crack the safe, right? To find out what works with their quarterback, Carson Roberts, and their big play threat, Devin Eanes. This is a Hamilton offense that's not going to wow you with numbers, but as a team, they play so well together, and they are 48 minutes away from a state championship berth. This game is really interesting because I want to see what the West Texas offense does against this Hamilton defense, which has been so rock solid all year long. The other gap in this game is experience. This is Hamilton's 10th playoff game in the last 13 months, okay? This team is experienced. They've been there. They've done that. And I'm a believer that you got to take in that hop and the skip before you can leap. I think last year was the hop and the skip for Hamilton. I think they're ready for their leap. I think the Bulldogs are heading for AT&T Stadium. 7:30 p.m. Thursday night at Cy-Fair FCU Stadium in Cypress. It is a 2A Division I state semifinal between the Refugio Bobcats and the Joaquin Rams. And if you're surprised Joaquin is here, you have not been paying attention because hashtag playoff Joaquin is a thing. Okay, last year, the Rams finished 4th in their own district and then ran all the way to the state semifinals. This year, they finished 3rd in their own district and they're back into the state semifinals. And the slot T is the devil, and they are a pain to deal with offensively, okay? Quarterback Cooper Bragg is in complete command of this offense. He's got a bunch of different weapons like Amarian Wilson and Jacob Gatlin to hand the ball off to. They are averaging 48 points per game in the playoffs. They have been absolutely electrifying. What happens when that offense runs into the Refugio defense, which is the number 3 scoring defense in all of 2A Division I? They are so fast, led by Weston Myers. They fly to the football. Offensively, they lean on their quarterback, Ray Lewis, who has been absolutely terrific, but they are best when he and running back Xander Wells are kind of working off of one another, and they're really rolling at that point. I think that they are really dynamic when they get on the edges. It's going to be critical for Joaquin to keep Refugio from popping big plays. For Refugio, this is a defense that has seen the slot T before because they play in South Texas. I think that is an advantage. The other advantage they have, I think, is a historical one, okay? Region 4 has dominated Region 3 in the last decade. In fact, Region 4 has won the semifinal in 10 of the last 11 seasons, okay? So history is on the side of the Bobcats. I think this game is close and could come down to the wire, but I think Refugio is your favorite. I like the Bobcats to head to AT&T Stadium. 6 o'clock Friday night at Art Briles Stadium in Stephenville. It is a 3A Division II state semifinal between the Gunner Tigers and the Wall Hawks. It is the most anticipated game in 3A Division II this year. It is a rematch of last year's state semifinal, and it is a matchup of two teams that absolutely ran roughshod over their regions, okay? Wall in Region 1 and Gunner in Region 2 won their 8 combined playoff games by a score of 449 to 55. Okay? absolutely dominant. And so now both of these teams level up their competition significantly, severely, and suddenly with everything on the line. This is box office stuff. Gunner, the three-time defending state champs, have reloaded in a big way. Sophomore quarterback Knox Gage has given them an element in that kind of pistol option offense that really makes them dangerous. Jay Campidi, their running back, is chugging along, and I think that their defense, led by Benji Rodriguez, is as solid as it ever is. They tackle so well in space. Well, here comes Wall. Quarterback Landon York has been absolutely sensational, one of the very best passers in all of Class 3A. They have a legit number one receiver on the outside in Reed Robertson. They have a 1,000-yard back in Brady Neal. And oh yeah, they have the number one scoring defense in all of 3A Division II, led by Jacob Braden. This team looks complete. Where do you split these two teams? I think it's fair to call Gunner an underdog in this game. In fact, the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Computer thinks that they're an underdog in a playoff game for the first time since the 2021 state championship game, which, ironically enough, was the last time they lost a playoff game. But I like the champion's advantage here. I think Gunner finds a way late in the game to make a couple plays to beat Wall. I think Gunner is heading back to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Thursday night at Randall Reed Stadium in New Caney. It is a 3A Division II state semifinal between the Newton Eagles and the East Bernard Bramos. And let's just take a moment to step back and marvel at East Bernard and what has happened to them this year, okay? So East Bernard starts 0-3, okay? Then they rattle off 6 straight wins. In the regular season finale, they lose to Tidehaven by 53 points. 53 points. They then get hot, find a way past a couple of teams, including Poth, on a last-second kickoff return for a touchdown. And then last week in the regional final, 4 weeks after losing to Tidehaven by 53 points, they beat Tidehaven. What? Jeremy Jenkins, the coach there at East Bernard, he's pushing all the right buttons right now. And quarterback Dan Bartlett, he has got that dog in him. This guy is unbelievable. He has such a feel for the moment, and this team is magic. They have got that feel of a team of destiny. Well, here comes Newton, and Newton is a different animal. The number one scoring offense in all of 3A Division II, led by Kendre Porter Jr. and Deldrick Samuel. They will run and run and run. They are so fast. And oh yeah, the number 3 scoring defense in all of 3A Division II as well. They have been terrific all the way around. I think Newton's your favorite in this one. I think the team speed is probably the difference in this one. But I will say this, East Bernard, they got some magic, okay? There's something about this team, so don't be surprised when this game is close, late, and East Bernard pulls a rabbit out of their hat. I like Newton, though. I think the Eagles are heading for Arlington. 7 o'clock Friday night at Crowley ISD Stadium in Fort Worth. It is a 3A Division I state semifinal between the Peaster Greyhounds and the Grandview Zebras. Hey, so last week in the regional finals, I made predictions for all 44 games. And there was one classification where I was wrong on all 4 regional finals. It was this one. It was 3A Division I, okay? Absolutely chaotic, and it's appropriate because 3A Division I has been so unpredictable all year long. It makes sense that I would go 0 for 4 and biff it in the regional finals, right? So it's Peaster and Grandview, and this is a fascinating stylistic matchup here. For Peaster, in their first ever state semifinal, and their calling card is defense, plain and simple. They're the number 4 scoring defense in all of 11-man UIL football. Okay, they have been sensational, averaging fewer than 8 points allowed per game, led by Hagan Hadley. They have got a number of different playmakers defensively. They're really, really strong. And then the offense just kind of finds a way. Quarterback Luke Gray or their running back Hudson Salyers, they find a way and they get what they need offensively. But make no mistake, their defense is what calls the shots here. For Grandview, it's the other way around because their offense is rolling. Remember when Grandview won back-to-back state championships, 2018 and 2019? Well, they are back, and quarterback Mason Sanders has been absolutely sensational this year. They are averaging 42 points per game in the playoffs. They have been terrific. The question for me You have the good-on-good matchup here, the Peaster defense and the Grandview offense. This is classic strength-on-strength stuff. For me, I look at the other side of the ball with the Grandview defense, which has been touched up at times. Can they play their best game of the year against a physical Peaster attack? I think this is almost too close to call, and both these teams really relish being the underdog, but I like Peaster in this one. I think defense wins championships. I think that's the difference. Give me the Greyhounds. 7 o'clock Friday night at the Field in Pflugerville. It is a 3A Division I state semifinal between the Yoakum Bulldogs and the Llano Yellow Jackets, two teams that got their own kind of monkey off their back in the regional finals. For Llano, Edna had been the team they couldn't beat, right? A team that had knocked them out of the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 seasons, but thanks to a crazy comeback last week, they are into the state semifinals. I love this quarterback, Luke Davis, back from injury and absolutely dealing. They run the ball well with Jose Silas. And their defense, while it bends, they make big plays at key moments. They have 45 takeaways this season, led by JD Friday. Their defense is play-making dudes. Well, speaking of playmakers, here comes Yoakum. Fresh off of dethroning 3A Division I state champion Columbus last week. Remember, this was the Columbus team that beat Yoakum by 18 points in the regular season. And then Coach Bo Robinson reverses the whip on them when it matters the most. Unbelievable coaching job by this staff, and they have got dudes. They have got dudes all over the place. Freshman Jermarcus Robinson has been a revelation. Sophomore Jermon Robinson has been unbelievable. They have an SMU signee in Xavier Barnett. They have got explosive weapons all over the field offensively, and by the way, their defense is playing their best football right now. So in 3A Division I, the way it usually works is that Region 4 is the power region and Region 3 is the speed region. And I think that actually does play out in this matchup as well. Now, don't get me wrong, Llano's got plenty of speed and Yoakum can certainly match with the best of them, but that is broadly what we're talking about here. I think it's hard to split these two teams, but I think that Yoakum's explosiveness is the difference in this one. I think they hit a couple of big plays. I think the Bulldogs are heading for AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Friday night at Mesquite Memorial Stadium. It is a 4A Division II state semifinal between the Brock Eagles and the Carthage Bulldogs, and you can make a real argument that this is the main event of state semifinal weekend because this has got everything you want, baby, okay? This is a battle of unbeatens. This is the defending state champion Carthage against the clear #1 contender for the crown in Brock. This is box office stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Brock is a juggernaut, okay? Brock is unbelievable. And we could talk about offensively the triplets that they've got, right? With quarterback Holt Frazier has been so good. Briar McDonald, their outstanding running back, a big-time #1 threat on the outside in Colt Matlock. But I think the defense, led by Brett Cannon, is the reason they're here. Their defense smothers people. This is a complete football team. Carthage, perhaps pound for pound, the most star-studded team in all of Texas high school football. I mean, look what they've got. The 2 running backs they've got, KJ Edwards, who's heading to A&M, by the way, Benny Smith. They've got a 3-year starter at quarterback in Jet Surratt. They have got a star-studded defense with 2 FBS linebackers in Queve Beck and Carson Crawford. They've got a #1 receiver, a Mississippi State signee in Junior Henderson on the outside. This team is loaded, and they looked the part last week against Athens, and they are also the defending state champ. So, how do you split these two teams? I don't know. I don't know. I've agonized over this pick because I think that Brock is absolutely the kind of team that can beat Carthage. If you are Brock, what you need to do is make sure you take advantage of, I think, matchups on the outside and let Holt Frazier cook, because this front 7 for Carthage is so good. They can't, when they've been beaten, it's been because they've been thrown on. But this Carthage defense makes so many big plays, and that is the real threat in this one. And then if you are Carthage, I think you need to see if you can establish the run with your 2 running backs in KJ Edwards and Benny Smith. That's the real key in this one. There's a chess match to be had, a great coaching matchup here. I don't make a habit of picking against Carthage in December. I don't think that's a good way of doing business. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs. Give me Carthage to return to AT&T Stadium.
The Picks is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Don't have time to go to a Dick's store this week? Just go to Dicks.com.
Yo, these Katie's are Fire! Bro, you work here?
Whatever, kid. Take notes. Yo, I can go all pro in these.
I can guard you and route you up.
You sure about that?
Not anymore.
Fellas looking for a quarterback?
The goal!
Billy needs cleats. You're right, Billy. These do bring out my eyes.
Every shoe for every athlete, only at Dick's.
Dick's is the GOAT.
7 o'clock Friday night at Rhodes Stadium in Katy. It is a 4A Division II state semifinal between the West Orange Stark Mustangs and the Sinton Pirates. For West Orange Stark, what an unbelievable job Coach Hiawatha Hickman has done for this program, getting them back to the big statewide stage, and an unbelievable job he's done, and he's done it by playing West Orange Stark football, okay? The Blue Link defense is back with Antarian Fontenot leading the way. They are fast, they are mean, they play with an edge, they are fun to watch, and then they are running the stinking ball with junior sensation Kelvie Jefferson, who is the next big thing in the 409. If you have not seen this kid, he is 5'3" and 160 pounds, but a certified burner, and you can't tackle him in a phone booth. This guy is unbelievable. Well, here comes Sinton, who is back into a state semifinal for the first time since 2014, which, ironically, they lost to West Orange Stark. And Coach Michael Troutman, one of the very best coaches in Texas high school football, hard stop, has his Pirates on the cusp of a state championship berth, and it's because of their running game with Micah Green, a 3,300-yard back. This guy is box office attraction. The good news for the Pirates is that their quarterback, Quincy Best, who left last week's regional final win over Cuero briefly, will go this week. It sounds like he's healthy. That is a huge boost for them. My question is about the Sinton defense, which has been touched up at times, including giving up more than 500 yards of offense to Cuero last week. Albeit, a lot of that is through the air, and West Orange Stark just doesn't throw at times. So that's a fascinating thing here. But in the end, I look at West Orange Stark's defense, and I think that is the difference in this ball game. I think the Mustangs are heading for Arlington. 7 o'clock Friday night at Knight Stadium in Fort Worth. It is a 4A Division I state semifinal between the Stephenville Yellow Jackets and the Salina Bobcats. And if you're a Texas high school football nerd like me, then this game means something to you, okay? Because these are two of the legacy programs, two of the most prestigious programs in Texas high school football, going at it, battle of unbeatens on the big stage. This is just good stuff. Stephenville shook off a slow start last week against West Plains and hit the Jets, thanks in large part to quarterback Trot Jordan, who I think played his best game as a Yellow Jacket last week. And then you add in their freshman phenom receiver, Caden Monk, on the outside. They can run the ball with Zyler McClendon. This team offensively is loaded, but it is the defense, led by Hudson Butchie, that has been terrific. It's been the calling card all year. They shut out West Plains in the second half last week, and that is the reason that they are here. So here comes Salina. And the question again for Salina is going to be at quarterback, where quarterback Bo Bentley left last week's game at halftime and did not return, apparently aggravating another injury. But they had a different kind of plan here, and they took linebacker Luke Biagini, put him at quarterback, ran the Wildcat, and he went nuts, and he ran for 3 touchdowns. Got to play old school Salina football, running the dang ball. They have been really kind of piecing it together and making it work, and give a ton of credit to that defense for holding them in the game and allowing them to get past Alvarado. Obviously, look, all eyes are on Bo Bentley and to see if he can go in this game. If he can't play, it is hard to see Salina beating Stephenville. But I will also say this. I think the Stephenville defense is going to be the difference in this ballgame. I think the way they fly to the football, I think they're one of the few teams that can match up with Salina in the fronts, and I think that is the difference. I think the Yellow Jackets are heading for AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Friday night at McLean Stadium in Waco. It is a 4A Division I state semifinal between the Kilgore Bulldogs and the Lavernia Bears. It is another state semifinal rematch. Both these teams won their region again. And for Lavernia, man, what a job Brian Knoll has done there as the head coach. 2 seasons, 24-5 record. He has been unbelievable, and I love watching this offense operate. They run a true power spread and that zone read combo, right, of their quarterback Cooper Knoll and their running back Ty Carter. It is so much fun to watch. They run it so well. This is a team that averages 300 yards per game on the ground, and that offense feeds their defense, keeps them fresh, led by Sean Garza. This is a complete team. They look the part. If they're going to make it to a state championship game, they will have to avenge last year's state semifinal loss to Kilgore, and this is easier said than done because the Ragin' Red are rolling, and it starts with their defense. Okay, Texas State signee Cameron Christian up front, SFA signee Jacqueline Sheffield at the secondary spot. This team is fast, they are physical, they will strike you. This defense is nasty. And on the other side, their quarterback Kason Brooks in complete command of this offense. They have got big-time weapons on the outside as well. So last year, the name of the game was that the Kilgore defense more or less kind of squeezed the life out of Livonia. They held them to under 4 yards per carry in that game. That is going to be the difference in this one. If Livonia can run the ball, it is game on, and the Bears can absolutely win this game. But if they can't, then I think Kilgore is your clear favorite. I think the Kilgore defense is the difference. I think the Bulldogs return to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Friday night at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. It is a 5A Division II state semifinal between the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears and the Melissa Cardinals. And before we get into the game, let's just take a moment and acknowledge how cool it is that we have high-stakes high school football at the Cotton Bowl in December. I just think that's great. As a Texan, that makes my heart very happy. This is just good stuff. Okay, on to the game. South Oak Cliff into their 5th state semifinal in a row. And for as much as we want to talk about the offense, with the running game, with the offensive line, Levon Morton, Mikhail Trotter, the emergence of their quarterback, Jaden Williams, it's the death row defense, plain and simple. Okay, Marcel Gibson, Jamarian Phillips, they became the first team since 2008 to shut out Port Neches Groves last week in the regional final. Absolutely sensational. That is the challenge for Melissa. Can they find a way through? And there's ample reason to believe that they can. Their offensive line is exceptional, and they've got a dude at quarterback in Brett Holloway, over 50 total touchdowns on the year. They can run the ball as well with Bear Tabor. This is a fascinating matchup too, because I think on the defensive side, Melissa in their front seven is very strong, led by Max Corbin. And this is a South Oak Cliff team that had some troubles running the ball last week against South Oak Cliff. If that persists, Melissa is right in this ball game. But I think the South Oak Cliff defense is the difference. They are playing at such a high level right now. I think the Golden Bears are heading back to Arlington. 7 o'clock Friday night at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. It is a 5A Division II state semifinal between the Richmond Randall Lions and the Bernie Greyhounds. Another state semifinal rematch. And hey, do you like big plays? Then do I have the game for you with two home run hitting offenses on a fast track in San Antonio? Get your popcorn ready. Bernie, despite losing their coach and their quarterback late in the offseason, are back into a state semifinal. Unbelievable. After a come from behind win over Alamo Heights last week, and Grant Sweeney, their quarterback, is that dude. Okay? Over 4,000 yards passing, over 1,000 yards rushing. He is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And by the way, he's got weapons all over the place, like Zachary Frazier and Eric Nicholas. They are absolutely flying right now. For Randall, they continued their mastery of Iowa Colony last week, beating them for the 4th time in 2 years. And the offense, with Landon Williams-Callis and quarterback Tyler Skrabonic, it's bordering on unstoppable at this point, okay? This offense is absolutely flying. Now, both these defenses do enough, right? That's the way that I would phrase it. They do enough. And that's, I think, going to lead to a pretty pointsy affair in this one. But here's the difference. Last year, when these two teams met, Randall was just a lot faster than Bernie, plain and simple. And I am not sure that speed gap has been closed all that much. I think Randall is your favorite. I think the champs return to Arlington to defend their crown. 7 o'clock Friday night at Newsom Stadium in Mansfield. There's a 5A Division I state semifinal between the Aledo Bearcats and the Frisco Lone Star Rangers. It is a battle of unbeaten, dominant teams in DFW, and two teams that are arguably coming off their most impressive win of the year. Last week, Aledo handled Denton Ryan in a really impressive victory. And this was the Aledo offense we were promised, right? Quarterback Lincoln Tubbs was terrific in this ballgame. Running back Caden Winkfield got going. And then the Aledo defense, well, it was the Aledo defense. And linebacker Chase Wilburn and company just choked the life out of Denton Ryan. It was a masterclass from the Bearcats. On the other side, Frisco Lone Star, they avenged their regional final loss last year to Highland Park in a big way, bringing up more than 700 yards of total offense. And quarterback Trey Wright went nuclear, okay? 630 yards of total offense all by himself. And oh yeah, they've got Carice Hoyt. And oh yeah, they've got Davian Gross. They are absolutely loaded offensively. And so when you take a look at this matchup, I think that it is about turnovers. And I know it's easy to say every game's about turnovers, but I think especially with two evenly matched ball clubs and two good-on-good matchups here, especially the Alito defense against the Lone Star offense, it is going to come down to turnovers. Can Lone Star break big plays? Can they take care of the football? Or can Alito allow that big offensive line to just lean on Frisco Lone Star and wear them down? I think this is a game that's going to be decided in the fourth quarter, and I think that Alito's offensive and defensive lines are going to be the difference in this ball game. I think the Bearcats return to Arlington. 7 o'clock Friday night at Legacy Stadium in Katy. It is a 5A Division I state semifinal between the Smithson Valley Rangers and the Port Arthur Memorial Titans. It is San Antonio versus the Golden Triangle for a spot in Arlington. It is two big, crazy fan bases that are going to create a raucous environment in Katy. This is going to be a ton of fun. And it's two programs that do things very differently. For Smithson Valley, they are about as methodical as it gets, right? Okay, they are going to run the ball, Gunnar Sjoquist behind that big offensive line. They're going to run play action with Ty Knutson, and they're going to strangle you defensively with their SMU signee, Hudson Woods, and that defense. Last week, when they beat New Braunfels 24-0, I think that is the platonic ideal of a Larry Hill coach ball club. Like, that was almost perfect, okay? Here comes Port Arthur Memorial. And let me tell you something about the Titans. They are going to let it rip. Okay, TCU commit Amonte Martin at quarterback is a game changer. They've got a Houston signee on the outside and Kevon Roberts. Their defense makes big plays with linebacker Tank King. They are flying all over the place, and they will press the issue. That's the stylistic clash in this one. Let me tell you about Smithson Valley's superpower. When they're going good, and they're going good right now, they drag you into the deep waters, and they make you play their ball game. They will not meet you where you are. They will be like, no, we're dictating the terms of engagement here. And I think Smithson Valley slows this game down. I think that defense comes up with big plays. And I think the Rangers return to Arlington. Give me Smithson Valley. 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Vernon Newsom Stadium in Mansfield. It is a 6A Division II state semifinal between the South Lake Carroll Dragons and the DeSoto Eagles. And ball knowers understand the gravity of when these two teams get together. This is the 7th time since 2012 these two teams will meet in the playoffs. It is a split decision right now. Each team has won 3 meetings, which makes this rubber match all the more exciting. And they both have very different regional final experiences. For South Lake Carroll, after a slow start against Denton Guyer, they really got into gear, and the wire-to-wire #1 team in Class 6A looked the part. Quarterback Angelo Rendo was fantastic. Davis Penn ran for 160 yards. And the defense has been really, really strong, especially in the front seven. It was a relatively ho-hum win there for South Lake Carroll. There was nothing ho-hum about DeSoto's win over Willis, which featured more than 1,000 yards of total offense, more than 300 yards of penalties, right? And just big plays all over the place. But DeSoto has got Sherrod Baker, and I think he might be the most dangerous player in Texas high school football right now. He ran for 7 touchdowns last week in their win over Willis. He has been unstoppable. And oh yeah, by the way, they have a 5-star receiver on the outside in Booby Feaster they can throw the ball to whenever they want. That's what makes this a really intriguing matchup. And I think that this game is ultimately going to come down to, with two offenses hitting on all cylinders, which defenses can make a couple of plays. And that's where I think South Lake Carroll might have the advantage in this one. Now, I will say this. There is no team in Texas that is more dangerous as an underdog than the DeSoto Eagles. They're going to be thrilled that I'm picking South Lake Carroll. Hi, Coach Mathis. I think the Dragons win it, though. Give me South Lake Carroll. 6 o'clock Saturday night at McLean Stadium in Waco. It is a 6A Division II state semifinal between the CE King Panthers and the Vandegrift Vipers. Vandegrift into their 3rd consecutive state semifinal, CE King in their first ever state semifinal. And for Vandegrift, like, what can you say at this point about the Vipers? Okay, the defending state champs, they just find a stinking way. Last week, they avenge a regular season week 1 lopsided loss to Dripping Springs in a big way, and they come up with plays. Quarterback Miles Tedecki is healthy and dealing. They are running the ball very well, and most importantly, Coach Drew Sanders' defense, led by Parker Davis, is making plays. They forced 3 turnovers in their win over Dripping Springs. What happens when they face maybe the fastest team in Texas in CE King? Because they have got burners everywhere, whether it's Rice Siney, Deion Sims at the running back spot, their do-it-all sophomore athlete Dylan Mitchell. Quarterback Timothy Potts is a dealer back there. He can get the ball wherever it needs to go. I think that there's a couple of things at play in this one. Can Vandegrift's defense mitigate this team speed for CE King? The other thing is that CE King starts fast. First quarter, they go out there and they bury you. Can Vandegrift withstand that surge? And more importantly, can they hit a couple of big plays of their own and put CE King in a place they haven't been much this year, which is chasing? I think that is critical, which team can start fast. Here's the thing. I have picked against Vandegrift in a semifinal against a big-time, fast Houston area team each of the last 2 years. And what did they do? They went 2-0. I think the team speed for CE King might be the difference in this one, but I've got my eye on this one. It's a coin flip ball game, but I think CE King is heading for Arlington. 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Mesquite Memorial Stadium. It is a 6A Division I state semifinal between the Allen Eagles and the Duncanville Panthers, and these two teams have a history. Flash it back to 2018. That is when Duncanville at AT&T Stadium in Arlington in the state semifinal dethroned Allen and essentially ended the golden era of Allen football from 2012 to 2017. And Duncanville established themselves as the preeminent DFW power in 6A. Now, flash forward to 2025, and Allen, revitalized and retrenched, has an opportunity to do the same and snatch the crown back from Duncanville. It's like poetry. It rhymes, right? So Duncanville is coming off of avenging their only loss of the season last week when they knocked off Waxahachie, and it feels like Coach Reginald Samples has cracked the code on how to utilize his guys, which is get the ball to his playmakers, Asen Theus and Trenton Yancey, by any means necessary, whether it is throwing him the ball or handing the ball off, and then lean on that defense led by KJ Ford, okay? That is the code there for Duncanville. Allen's coming off of dethroning the 6A Division I state champs North Crowley. I thought that was quarterback Jeremiah Dowd's best game as an Eagle. He was fantastic in this ballgame. Got a ton of playmakers like Caleb Martin on the outside, and more importantly, their defense, led by Kai Wheaton and Japre Wafer, they have been exceptional all year long. There are two money matchups in this ballgame. The first one is the Duncanville weaponry, Yancey and Theus, up against what has been a dynamic Allen defense that makes big-time plays, especially on the back end. That's one. The other one is the Allen offensive front against that ferocious Duncanville front. That is worth the price of admission. I think it's Allen's time. I think they're back. I think the Eagles are heading for AT&T Stadium. And 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Thorne Stadium in Houston, it is a 6A Division I state semifinal between the Galena Park North Shore Mustangs and the Lake Travis Cavaliers. Flash it back a year ago, Galena Park North Shore played an Austin area team with a dominant defense, and that Austin area team smothered them in the semifinals. Well, we kind of got that again, although a few things have changed, most notably the Austin area team in question. Last year it was Westlake, this year it is Lake Travis, into their first state semifinal since 2021. That is actually the longest drought for a state semifinal berth for Lake Travis since 2006. So yeah, they're back, and they're back with a defense that is relentless, okay? Their front, with Carter Buck, the TCU signee, and Ben Duncombe, the Kentucky signee, they are incredible. Their defense has been absolutely outrageous, and it has really held the line for this Lake Travis team while their offense figures things out, right? Quarterback Luke McBride came up with a couple of big throws last week in their win over San Antonio Johnson. They've got their running back Van Hopping back from injury, but make no mistake, this is a defense-first ball club. What happens when they collide with North Shore into their 8th consecutive state semifinal, and quarterback Caleb Maryland, whoo boy, this kid is special. He has been absolutely outstanding. They're running the ball well with Hezekiah Jones, and I will say that while their defense may not be as star-studded as it has been in the past, They have got playmakers, they have got dudes, and they play with that East Side mentality. So, can the North Shore offensive line protect Maryland? Can Lake Travis move the ball consistently? Those are the two big questions in this one. I think this is a coin flip type game, and I think Lake Travis actually matches up really well with North Shore. I think North Shore has the edge at the quarterback spot because Maryland is a special player. I think North Shore heads back to Arlington. And those are the picks. I picked all 20 UIL Texas High School Football State Semifinals this week, so now you can let me know, what am I wrong about? Leave comments down below. Don't forget that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And of course, see us at texasfootball.com, where you can find complete coverage of the 2025 Texas High School Football Playoffs at texasfootball.com/playoffs. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the Texas High School Football State Semifinals. We'll see you.